Pac-12 grant of rights and the membership agreement. I want to give a quick shout out to Chris Murray. He's with the Nevada Sportsnet. He's the one that he does a lot. I mean, he does honestly more than anybody I have seen that gets these documents and puts them on the internet, or Scribe, or whatever the heck it is. I mean, massive shout out to this guy. He does a great job. So the grant of rights document was dated June 9th, 2025. It's effective on, of course, July 1st, 2026. It's a 5-year agreement that will run through June 30th, 2031. Like all grant of rights agreements, irrevocable. It assigns the conference the media rights for their athletic events. And there's going to be separate media rights agreements with the media partners. So a little different. We followed the ACC very closely, and I think that was one of the issues that FSU had with the grant of rights. It specifically said ESPN. Like these grant of rights, both the PAC and the Mountain West, they don't name who the media partner is. They just say, yes, we're giving you, the conference, our media rights to then go and market. So that's what's happening here with the grant of rights. In terms of their expansion agreement, really their membership agreement, they call it expansion agreement. Two main things stood out to me, and I put this on X both yesterday and today. And I'd love to hear if you have comments on this. So number one, CBS was actually named in the agreement, this membership agreement, multiple times. The media rights, which they say, quote, including without limitation the proposed 5-year agreement with CBS. The original date of this agreement was back in May. So that, when you fill these suckers out, they put the month and then you have to fill in the date or whatever. So this was in May, although what was given to Chris Murray was not the finalized signed agreement. So whether it was, May or early June, we do know that the grant of rights was early June. So be that as it may, we know at least that the Pac-12 knew in advance that CBS was going to be a media partner, not necessarily the anchor media partner that they then came out with, but we knew CBS would be a partner, or they knew they would be a partner several weeks ahead of the announcement, okay? No other media partner is included in this agreement. CBS is the only one, and it stipulates literally CBS, which kind of surprised me. Like,
me too.
Why would we put any media partner's name? CBS, ESPN, anybody. Why would we put this in there? Well, they did. They put CBS. And as we know, I mean, the secondary, tertiary media partners are going to be, CW, ESPN, or who it is. So that's kind of the first piece. Like, what were your thoughts when, I was really surprised to see CBS in the membership agreement. What are your thoughts there, Steve?
Same, and I don't want to just reiterate what you were saying, but I was surprised as well. I feel like what we've seen with the ACC stuff,
yes,
haven't we learned our lesson,
right,
kind of thing.
Right.
I don't understand why it needs to be in there. The whole purpose of this, okay, let's grant our rights to the conference, give them the bargaining power. Once you do that, let the conference sign an agreement with the different media partners. So I don't understand it. I don't see the need for it. But honestly, I as I've told you before, I have less and less faith in these grant of rights and these different membership agreements as time goes on. I think that it's funny how they put the word irrevocable in. Like I want to put in question, quote marks or whatever. So I was very surprised as well. I'll just say that.
And I'm not, I'm not trying to be salacious or I'm not trying to knock the PAC. I don't understand a couple things. It's interesting to me that A, they would put it in their agreement, and B, that they knew this probably, I'm going to guess, about a month before, they came out with it. And it was not said in the agreement that they are the main partner or the anchor partner or the whatever. It didn't say that. But it did list them. They knew partner, it. So, yeah. And it just makes me kind of wonder why that would be. Why did they do that? And again, we're getting into salaciousness, but it just doesn't make sense why they would put that out there. Yeah. There's no need to do that, other than that's the one that they knew. And what we heard from President Danforth, they wanted to have a media deal, before they added somebody. And I see people still questioning that. And he was very clear with us. Whether people wanted to believe that or not. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of doubted it at some point. Like, we know they have to have an 8th member.
Yeah.
The media deal can come later. It can come in August. Who cares? But he was clear to us that the media deal was first and the addition was second. And call that whatever they did, the announcement of CBS, but that's what they wanted to have happen, and that's what they did have happen.
Yeah, he was very clear and open about that and about the timeline. And and once you hear what he has to say, then the timeline does make sense. That was what they were working on. They got that solidified, and then really turned their attention. And he said it got hot and heavy at the end.
Right.
So they really were not pushing on adding that member until they got the media deal solidified. And I do remember you saying at one point that you had heard, basically like that the 8th member didn't matter too much. Like you had seen some speculation, like the media deal was going to be based on what they had already.
Yeah.
And the 8th member was not going to make a big difference to the value. So that again makes sense with their priorities and their timeline. Well, now that we see it at the end.
All right, let's get to the last thing, Steve. Veto power of Oregon State and Washington State. We've talked about this a few times. And in the new agreements, it's clear that, and I put this out on X, that the veto power of Oregon State and Washington State, specific to membership and media deals, ends June 30th, 26. Now, I would say for media deals, they're going to have them by June 30th, 26. So kind of it's irrelevant. But at least in terms of moving forward, they will all have equal voting power amongst the PACs. PAC come July 1st, 2026. And that was one thing we just kind of didn't know. Like, we saw the interest agreements. We knew this veto power, as I've been calling it, was afforded these two schools. Now, I will say the one thing that I found interesting was that the PAC-12 enterprises continues for 2 years past. So through June 30th, 28, the Oregon State and Washington State still have veto power over the Pac-12 enterprises. And it also goes on to say, it actually specifies about, potential sale of the Pac-12 enterprises and how that may happen. So I found that to be interesting. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but a sale of the Pac-12 enterprises post June 30, 28 would need this 3/4 vote for all the members. So they still definitely are holding on to that enterprises a little bit more closely post July 1st, 26 than anything else. So again, just things that I'm throwing out there. I'm not a hater. I'm not a whatever. Just some stuff that was in the documents.
Yeah, I think this almost reminds me. I always go back to the analogy about divorces.
Yeah.
You had the original divorce of the PAC.
Yeah.
The Oregon State and the Cougs and the Beavs are now getting remarried, and they're saying like, okay, these assets they're mine, and until we get to a certain point, and if we've been married 2 or 3 years, then I'll let you have some of that.
Right.
And they've been trying to sell the Pac-12 network and Pac-12 enterprises or whatever, basically since the jump, since everything happened.
Yeah.
I do want to respond JEH real quick, and he's talking about viewership numbers with OSU and WSU. And yes, the thing is the PAC rebuilt around OSU and WSU, but the additions, out of all the additions, Boise is the one they have the brand power and all that. The networks want them.
Right.
But as far as that 8th member, it wasn't going to matter. There was no 8th member that was going to bring either brand power or viewership numbers that was going to change the media. They were just going to be basically a filler. And that's just
giving me a football game.
Exactly.
The show on CBS SN.
So we're not necessarily talking about OSU and WSU. We're talking about who would be that 8th member.